What's going on, everybody? How are we all doing? I hope you're doing very well on this fine Wednesday evening for me, mid-afternoon for Mike. There isn't no sun on his eyes yet, but how you
Not
doing?
yet.
No.
Not yet. I was actually just looking out the window, and there's, for those that don't know, there's like a train bridge that I can kind of see. And once the sun kind of comes down underneath that bridge, that's when I'm going to get blasted in the face. But for now, very comfortable.
I might clip that. Is where we're going to go from there. But so I feel that the idea around SORARE Sharps was that every single week we were going to come in, we'll just shoot the shit on what's currently going on within the SORARE MBA platform, where we're at. And today I think we've covered the big topic stuff. This is now the little fry. This is the what do we actually want? So maybe that is really big picture, but I wanted to just sit here and discuss where we're going right now, because everyone every single week is like, we want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. I was kind of like, let's just take a step back. Let's assess. Because I also found that I was looking down at some of the old content from last year. Like I was looking at old podcasts and thinking like, what was our headspaces 1 year ago, or like near All-Star break last year? What was we saying that we were our pain points? What was annoying us, and what did we want? And for large parts, we kind of have that. And it did make me laugh when I was watching some of these back. And one of them in particular is you was on SORARE Data's NBA show. Rest in peace, because they haven't done one this year for it yet. And the whole premise on it was there was like cash rewards could stabilize the market. And I'm like, when I'm watching this back now, man, little did we know. But it was also kind of just a general gist of more competitions. That was the general flow. And here we are in January 24, and we're asking for more I feel like I need the Bernie Sanders meme of like, here I am once again asking for more competitions.
Yeah, I've been approaching a lot of like our conversations around like, instead of there we go. Shout out. I don't know, is Roy in the chat? Roy?
He's not here. There's no hateful comment yet. So I
was gonna say poor Roy's gonna catch up on this. He's like, come on, guys. Like, I was just having fun. But yeah, I think like when we've approached like some of the stuff that have either been like sticking points or frustrations or constructive feedback, whatever. I've always tried to like come at it from like, what is the reasoning behind either doing something or not doing something, right? And when we got to like the coupon type thing, it was like they probably were trying to drive more auction interest and less on the secondary market. Like you could find some reasonings behind some stuff. I, for the life of me, can't figure out why we're not seeing more contests, unless the only thing I got is if they're just like, we don't have the rewards to give out. Like, that's the only kind of thing that I could land on, because like they did flirt with it a little bit, right? We get the IST. Then it was like, once that ended, we get some under 23. And then it's been pretty stable. It's been the same run of tournaments for the last, 6 weeks?
So that's something that I did have prepared, and now I've lost the tab for it. But you're right. We had around IST, there was like, we're going to bring back the special tournaments. We're going to have under 23s. We're going to have veterans. And I think they run that. I think they ran them from game week 14 and 15 for under 23, and then 16 and 17 for veterans. That's what I remember. And obviously now we are currently in game week 24, and we haven't had one since, apart from Christmas Day, where we had the special lineups for that. We haven't had one since. Now, it isn't almost a case of I expect it every single week, but we've got to a point where it's now, we're 6 weeks in, no special tournament since, but it's also no mention. There's been no, and again, it sounds like we're going from two sides, because I feel that we were saying we don't want updates all the time, but now we're like, we kind of want an update on where we're going, because it's been 6+ weeks since the court report. There was no mention, and then I'm not including the court report that was the Twitter post that had no actual blog post. It's been 6 weeks since the November update, so I feel like it's like weirdly quiet, if you know what I mean.
And part of me was like, oh well, they're probably going to do something for Paris, and like, hey, maybe that's on us a little bit for like creating expectations that they didn't set, like we set them ourselves, right? But I thought like, okay, maybe they're gearing up for this. Maybe they're gearing up for that. I don't know, but we haven't really. I guess that's where I keep coming from. Do you think do you think there's any like logical reason why they're not doing them?
If I'm being honest, I think the issue is that they've had to change the goalposts a couple times this season, and it's got to a point where they're like, we're not sure now, and I don't think they want to half-ass anything, any potential tournament. I think they're going to be looking mainly at All-Star at the minute, so they're not really focusing on anything else. I think the Paris one, it would have been fun if there was something, but with it being just one game, it's a little bit more tricky to do. Like, it's not like it's a slate of games. It literally is just one game. I thought maybe we'd get some like special like cards that they'd sell. Like
Cards,
yeah. I thought we'd maybe get like France, Paris editions of Cleveland Cavs players and Brooklyn Nets players. But again, I suspect the amount of work that gets required to sign that off from the NBA is hard. But maybe that's something that you should look at the start of the year because it's a known thing. I think there's lots of realms that we can go in to that end. I think they're focusing on All-Star. They've got to nail the playoffs this year. They can't mess the playoffs up. Like, they cannot mess that up. The playoffs will be such a big thing because if that sucks and you leave season 2 with a bad taste in its mouth, it's going to be hard. It was such a long off season as well, I found.
I don't mean this to be like snarky or anything, but do you think
this is not a snarky show? This is a constructive criticism show. There's going to be some things everywhere, but it's a constructive criticism show.
Do you think they're incapable of doing two things?
So I think ultimately, and this is what I feel we've seen with, and to be honest, I say we feel. I haven't played the MLB side enough to know, but it seems like there's been almost overlapping issues. And I guess it's to do with the licensing of these American sports. I think the amount of sign-off that they need to do things is hard. But at the same time, we saw last year that we had quite a lot of under 23, all offense, all defense, East and Western. So it's very odd for them then to not have them this year. So then it comes down to the question of, if they not baked mint counts, like obviously they sit down at the start of the year and they go, we have 1,000 limiteds, 100 rares, and 10 super rares. Did they bake in like 15% of the amount of special competitions that we had last year? Because they're not going to do cash for an all offense. They're just not going to do that. But then it also says to me, we haven't had any NBA League passes as prizes this year. We haven't had Club Shop. I know they might have been working on Rivals, but where does it kind of go of the, like, if you've then stopped Rivals, where do we start on the other stuff? Like it's just, there's so much uncertainty. That's, I think, is the bigger thing as well.
Yeah. And I, maybe there are some reasons that they like can't, like publicly share that like holds them back from being able to do stuff. But it does seem like do you think the NBA PA needs to sign off if they do an under 23 week? So like that again, feels that feels excessive.
It feels excessive, but then also with some of the stuff that you hear about with the MLB and you hear about on all of these, whenever anyone has spoken about the NBA, it's always that it's very, very hard to get things through. So maybe it is the case, but they're never going to say that because they can't make a press release and go, well, we can't do these things because the NBA are tied out.
Right.
Like
totally.
It's going back and forth for it. So I think it's managing expectations. And like I named this show of like, what do we actually want? And I think at the minute it's managing expectations because there was a whole thing on the football side recently of the threshold was going to be removed. Right. And there was a whole like whirlwind of panic that came from this, that if they remove thresholds on the football side, why would people play? Why would you get incentivized to do this? SORARE themselves made absolutely no communication about this. It sparked from like one person having a conversation and then being a like theoretical question to then the whole community getting pissed at SORARE because they're going to remove thresholds. And they're like, right. So I've gone off on a tangent now. I understand that, but
no. I think that is a good point. I mean, I do think that is a good point. But I do, and okay, so here I guess I'll put this like to you and to the chat. Did we make up that we were probably getting more contests? Like, is that something that we made up out of thin air?
So I think we had the IST that was such a like big success. Then they had the finals for it as well. I then think from there was the lull. Then they brought in that Christmas Day update with the under 23s and the veterans, and they didn't then mention anything else. And I assumed we've all thought, like now they'll kick in every like 2 weeks, we'll get a new one or something like that, and it just hasn't happened. So it's a case of like we've almost expected it, but they haven't said anything. And I don't know who's more in the wrong there.
I thought in one of the initial, like at the beginning of the season, about some of the stuff that was coming down the pipeline, that they were talking about these special contests that were just going to start being rolled out. And I guess in my consumption of it, I thought that meant the one, what they meant by, like, we'll always have contender, champ, underdog. We've added underdog in the rotation. We'll always have that in there. And then we'll have specials like week to week or whatever. And I guess like in my head, I was like, oh, they're definitely talking about under 23, over 30, Western Conference, Eastern Conference. Cause they had mentioned that as well. But maybe I guess what they meant by those specials were just like a Christmas thing or the All-Star game or the playoffs, or maybe they included the IST in that too. It just does seem, I don't know. You and I have talked about this both on the show and offline. It just feels quiet. It feels pretty quiet.
So did it feel quiet to you, as if like, not that they don't care, but do you feel it's quiet, that it's the like quiet before the storm and we're going to get a really big announcement? Or is that me living in hope? Where am I lying there?
So you know what's funny? I did feel that way. And then like more time passed and now, so it's kind of like I'm coming back down the roller coaster except it never went up. It's just like continuing to go down. I actually don't think we're about to get a big announcement. I bet we will get something around All-Star game, because I think that's like, we've seen them do that before. So I imagine they're going to do something similar to that again, especially because Wemby just said he wants to do the skills competition. I'm sure they'll rally around that in a way. And then I'm sure they're going to do the playoff thing as well. It is kind of nuts, though, if you think about it, that if they're like, okay, we're just going to run 3 contests every single week from every tier, and then we'll do something for this IST, which is brand new. We'll do a Christmas Day thing, an All-Star game thing, and a playoff thing, and then you won't hear from us outside of that. And maybe I'm overreacting to it, and like actually know that that's the right amount of stuff, that's the right amount of wrinkles they should be throwing in. But yeah, I don't know, man.
I've just seen this one. So Joshua said, I didn't join until last year, until All-Star. Most people in the US don't care about the NBA until the NFL playoffs. So in my opinion, this is smart to hold back for now. So I think the one issue I have with that is, yeah, you're probably right in terms of that there's going to be more of an audience and viewer base for the NFL in terms of till the playoffs are done for that, and then they ramp up with the NBA. But SORARE is a product at the minute where it doesn't have a general, I wouldn't say it doesn't really have a casual user base right now, especially on the sports, on the NBA and the MLB side. Until Rivals comes, which is the big push to get in sort of that more casual player onto the platform. Right now, if you play SORARE NBA, realistically, you care about the product from the tip off. Like, you care about game week 1. And I'm not going to, I think, and I said that I've been trying to do like this whole video on the state of SORARE from this year, because I do think they've done things well. But I think there's some parts that just really confuse me about why we haven't seen these changes yet. Like, I still don't understand why we don't have Club Shop on the NBA, but like we're seeing regular updates to it on the football side. Like, even if we could just gain coins and it was the leveling up stuff, it doesn't have to be the merch. It doesn't have to be tickets, which even isn't on the football side yet. But just the idea of the in rare and in limited and in common, you can jump in there, you can earn your 500 coins a week or whatever it is, start build a balance, and then you can use it to level up some of your cards, because now we have collection bonuses. So it's even more of an imperative thing. But we've not heard anything for like near on 2 months now. So I don't think these are also like I don't think these are like, we haven't seen anything in 3 days, I'm so out. Like, I think these are all rationale things that lots of people within the community are asking, and we just kind of almost don't get it.
And to go to what Josh is saying here a little bit too, like I understand what Josh is saying. And I think what I would agree with this, if they like, hey, we do a big onboarding push in mid to late October when the season starts, because that's when there's some eyes on basketball. But then we take some of our onboarding resources and we chill out for a couple months. And then we come back in Christmas and into the new year, where, like you're saying, Josh, most of the American fans who are like diehard football fans that don't really tune in until football winds down, then they do another onboarding push and then maybe one more final one for the playoffs. That to me makes sense. But I think to like not really engage with your current audience, your user base that is like your lifeblood for the product right now, until you know, the 40 to 35, 40 game mark into the season, probably, yeah. I mean, then none of us should play until like February, right? Like we all started the All-Star game then, you know? So I get what you're saying from the onboarding perspective. That makes a ton of sense to me. But for gameplay, I mean, your gameplay should be good. But I guess, George, let me ask you the question then that you asked me, because I know you like started harping on that a little bit. Do you think we're about to get, like, do you think it's the calm before the storm, or are you kind of like where I would land it on that?
So it depends what storm we're going to go off here. I think All-Star will be big. I think they will have a big All-Star push. I think they'll have special tournaments for it. I think if we're talking storm, I do genuinely believe they're going to make season 2 of the playoffs really, really good. Because if we haven't seen Rivals yet, and I don't know when we're going to get that. So if they're working on something, which they will be, they're not sitting around twiddling their thumbs. The idea of if they're looking back on what did we get wrong in season 1, the ultimate thing that they got wrong in season 1 was the playoffs, like the reward structure of the playoffs. Because let's be frank, it was pretty bad in comparison to what was expected and and the whole year built up to it. Did this whole thing. They did the 25% boost on players if you bought before a certain point. Terrible idea on the market, because all that was artificially intervening, and then meant that as soon as that date hit, which was like April, whatever, no one wanted to buy a single player on the secondary market after that, because it was like, there's no point, because none of them can compete. So I think if they're going to look back at that, they're going to make season 2 for the playoffs the best they can do it. And I think as well, if you're going to go for this onboarding thing for All-Star, which I assume they're going to do and try and get players in for the All-Star break, and they'll do special cards like they've done with Christmas Day, I'm sure of it. They'll do special tournaments that'll be in and around the week, and it'll all be great. And then you have that like loo in between. That's such a big area for them. They have to have these rotating competitions each week that will encourage people to go on the platform and buy new cards that wouldn't be in their gallery necessarily. And I think also we need an early communication for the playoffs. We need a communication that is definitive. It isn't that we'll have more updates in the future. We're working on it. We need to know this is what we want to do, and this is where we're going to go with it. Because as well, if it isn't good, there is going to be community backlash, and it will then allow them to work and change it and tweak it slightly. And SORARE have been great in that in the past, in terms of that if they do get something wrong, 9 times out of 10, they hold their hands up and they go, yes, we can change this and do this in a different manner. They did it too late, I feel, with the playoffs last year, and that was an issue.
Yeah, I do think that I think your point on them announcing the playoff stuff early, I think probably could have a nice little impact on morale anyway. It's not even that morale is terrible right now, but I do think that would be like a nice boost if they can. And again, now this is me now setting unfair expectations. So I'm not saying we should all think this, but if they came out with the All-Star update, right? Like, here's what we got for All-Star game weekend. Here's going to be the special prizes, the cards, whatever, the tournaments. And then also here's what's coming down the pipe for the playoff. This is the structure of the contest, blah, blah, blah. I do think that would kind of curb some of the sentiment a little bit and get people excited, because I think for me personally, and again, this is not shots at anybody that like works there or distrust in the company. I think like if I had any concern, it's that this is like their little side project, their little passion project is the NBA while they're over there doing the football stuff, right? Because even at Paris, where the big game between Cleveland and Brooklyn that you were present for, they're like, hey, guess what? Here's this sick football game. And so I think like, right. So I think announcing something like that would make me feel a little bit better, instead of it feeling like that they're kind of spinning their wheels right now, maybe not having the infrastructure support that we hope the basketball side would have.
So again, I got to go out there with SORARE for it, and I got to speak to obviously some people that work within the product. And I said this to them of like the feeling of like, football is like the main thing, and then you have NBA and MLB. And I could see that it annoyed everyone that I spoke to regarding that, because that's not how they feel. It's just, I think that's the optics of where it's coming from. And obviously, no one's stupid enough. The football product just is bigger. Like, it's a bigger game. Sure, there's more money involved in it, and there's no dice on that. But it's
and their partnerships are deeper. Their partnerships are more immersed too.
Yeah, they have partnerships with clubs in particular, not just leagues, and then also leagues in general. And it is what SORARE was. It was founded as a football game, and then the NBA and the MLB came on top of it. That's just all these things. But speaking to people there, 100% that isn't the idea of it. So it's changing the optics from our side, how they can get around this is where we're going with it. And I feel like, again, we're just arcing back to kind of, we want communication, but in a manner that isn't like nothing. We don't want that there's an update of an update coming. We don't need to know something every single week. We don't need that much information. I think we just need our expectations managed of where things are coming, what updates we can expect. And I don't think it's too out of the question to ask for a playoff update or just some form of communication around the All-Star break. I know there's going to be a sizable chunk of change of time in between them, but what is the general idea? Like, are we going to need 4 limited cards for the brand new season for a tournament? I think stuff like that also will then help for people, and it won't cause artificial movement within the market. If you release the playoff update 2-3 weeks before the playoffs start, and you go, oh, by the way, you need 4 rares from the new season, everything on the season 1 is going to die. So there needs to be an understanding of what you're going to do, because I think ultimately how it worked in the IST of having new cards is a good thing for the sustainability of it going forward. If we as existing users don't want to buy new cards, it's done, right? It's done like that. So if they have that understanding of that we're going to have this big competition for the playoffs and you need these cards, let us know as soon as possible is what I'd say.
I think I mean, I totally agree with everything you said, but to go back to like the first part of what you were talking about with like you being there and bringing that up to people and then being like, no way, that's not the case. I mean, that would be insane if they said it was the case, right? That'd be like red alarm fire if they were like, yeah, you're right, man. We don't give a shit. So that would be nuts. But I believe that they don't, like, obviously the people who work at the NBA on the NBA product are super passionate about it, are innovative, and are excited about the direction that it's going. I like totally agree with that. But I would love for them to like zoom out a little bit and come from the consumer perspective and be like, what things have happened again outside of the IST, which is chef's kiss, that has happened in year 2 that has like given anyone any sort of like hoorah, you know what I mean? Because I think if they're being honest, I mean, they'll probably point again to the IST, even though I already gave them credit for it, and then they would point at the Christmas card rewards. And then they would say that, yeah, but dude, the card design is fucking tight. Like, I think they would say that too. And outside of that, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm missing some stuff and I'm not being totally fair, but, and I guess they would say like app innovations and shit like that. So maybe I'm not giving them credit for like some of the UI, but.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, when I was going back and looking at stuff from like a year ago, the UI of the game in general is way better in terms of how it looks and everything like that. And I know it's been a little laggy recently, but the whole thing itself looks way better. But I think the ultimate one is what I would say, and this is probably quite a contentious point, is the rewards aspect of when you win now. It is miles better this year when you win a competition than it was last year. Let's not forget, if you won a limited champion reward last year, if you won it, you didn't even win the best limited card. Like, you won a tier 2. Like, that was the issue that we had in these sort of modes. Now, if you win limited champion, you get $350, a rare tier 3 card. Let's not talk about that rare tier 3 card's price. And then a limited tier 1. So, again, it's ebbs and flowed. So I think limited, and I don't want to make this a whole show about rare rewards again.
No,
rare rewards. But I think also we kind of have to still say it. I think Rare Champion is still in a bad spot. I really do. Like, in terms of when you look at the jump from a player to go from limited into rare right now, it's not that appetizing. Like, it really isn't. Like, I will still play in rare because I still like that aspect of moving up that level. But if I'm looking at it from the perspective of someone else, of that, if I solely played limited and I didn't have a single rare card, Rare Contender's a different ball game. Rare Contender I get. Going into Rare Champion right now is a tough sell, is what I would say.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Also, this made me think of real quick. I forgot, because the last time we did Live Before Lock, or I guess 2 Live Before Locks ago, our boy Spicer, was this Monday? I can't even remember how long ago the Spicer.
No, I feel like that was Friday. Friday.
But Billy Jackson had just an incredible tweet. I don't know if people saw it. Well, he was like, everyone keeps saying SORARE is hard. I'm up thousands. I loved that tweet so much. It made me laugh. I like messaged him after it because I was like, that was such like a fun flex, and also signed up for top tier projections because Billy Jackson's killing it.
Do you know what, Mike? You've perfectly led me into this hashtag app. My lineups going forward now for season 2 on SORARE are going to be powered by top tier projections. If you want to see what they're all about and try and gain that little edge over the competition within the SORARE streets, I'll leave a link to it down below in the description for you to go and check them out. Let the guys over at Top Tier Projections know that I'm the one that sent you. They'll give you a special offer, and it will also help support me making these videos going forward.
Wow, there we go. Get George that cash, baby.
Yeah, back in, but in an actual serious manner, genuinely. If you do play in the rare, I would say it's a tough sell on the limited side, but if you play in the rare and the super rare, definitely you should be looking at Billy stuff. There is a link for it somewhere down below. And also, I completely spaced. I didn't say at the top of the show, if you're here and you haven't subbed over at Team Hold SORARE, there is a link for it down below. Go and sub them out. How many subs are you up to now on that channel?
We're just shy of 600 here. 590. We had a new value hunting episode. New value, 24. And I'll get.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, we dropped a new value hunting episode today, and you want to know who didn't make the thumbnail because I wanted most people to have to watch it to get to the juicy nugget? Plum Dog. It's Plum Dog week on SORARE.
I haven't looked at projections at the minute. Is it because Zubac is out, isn't he? Yeah.
Zubac is out for 4 weeks, and I don't think anyone knew Plumlee was back. I think last night was his first night back. Damn. And he started. He started over.
Does he even have a season 2? He won't have a season 2 card then, will he?
I don't. No, he's got a season 2. He's because I think he played like a week or something. 2. Yeah.
Oh right, okay. So that's something. But in the meantime, let me just quickly pull this up as well, because where I did have it, there it is. So we'll pull that through, and then also we will move this. Oh dear, what's going on here? There we go. We'll move this so we can actually read this. So this was the last update that we got, and I just was looking for this as we were speaking, in terms of when they announced the IST. But you are right. I wanted to just confirm this was the last time that they mentioned like the December special competitions. So we had under 23 in 14 and 15, and then we had veterans in 16 and 17. Okay. And I feel like, again, then we had the Christmas Day in game week 18, and that's the I'm pretty confident this is the last time that we had specials. I don't remember one after Christmas. I might
here we go. I'll give them a little leeway here. Maybe they mapped out through Christmas, and then the second Christmas ended, right? You have the holiday, then they go to Paris pretty soon after that. They come back, and then maybe we pick back up All-Star Game weekend. So maybe, I'm sure if there are SORARE employees watching right now, they probably haven't gotten this far. They gave up. But if you got this far, this is me saying, hey, maybe I get it. Maybe I get it.
So I totally hear you, and I agree with those points in truth. But I feel as well, I think I remember. Now, I went back and I also watched. I forget her name now. I was at the start of it. Kate Schrumpf. She was on. She was actually on SORARE NBA. That's at SORARE Data NBA. That's where I saw when she did that at the start of the year. She was director of product, and she had like a whole interview with Andrew, and basically sat down and went, "This is what we want to do for this year." And one of the things was mentioning the special like different competitions for it. I don't want to go back onto this sort of thing. Yeah, but again, I feel like when they sit down at the start of the year and they work out how much of something that they can mint, and how much they're going to sell, and then how much they're going to sell of this card, and how much they're going to give it away as rewards. That's ultimately it, right? At the end of the day, I feel like they would have potentially baked in already, like they already know how many special competitions they're going to do and when. So I don't feel like it's a decision where before they go on holiday for Christmas, and of course everyone has to have vacation days and like spend time with the family, and there'll be people working over Christmas, no doubt. So then they have time off in the start of the new year or whatever. But I feel like these decisions would have already been made towards the start of the year, and they already will know when the next set of special competitions are going to come out. So it's kind of just I don't see the issue in letting the community know 6 game weeks in advance that this is when we'll have under 23. And I think that's, again, it's the communication aspect of like, why don't we know when the next batch of random specials? Because these are not like the IST or that big season, like big marketing push tournament.
Right. These are like week one, like 4 days max.
Yeah. These are like under 23s, veterans, all of it. These are stuff for just a general existing player base. So I don't understand why we don't know. And maybe that's me not understanding something, but it seems like a bit of a fair, rationale question to ask, if you know what I mean.
So we are officially, a month from today will be the 3-point contest and dunk contest. So I imagine, hopefully, in the next like 2 weeks or so, we're probably getting this sort of announcement. What do you think needs to, like, what needs to happen between now and say at the end of the announcement for you to be like, okay, I feel good. I feel good. Maybe not amazing, but like I'm feeling a little bit better.
In terms of what? For the All-Star? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, because like you were saying, it's been pretty quiet. We haven't really gotten any new contests. And this is me just assuming the next kind of big sort of, here's what's coming, is going to include the All-Star and hopefully beyond the All-Star. And I guess what I'm asking is like, what are you looking for from their next set of like official communication that would kind of check some boxes for you?
Club Shop is like not the main one, but it's pretty much up there right now. An update on what's happening with Rivals. Like if Rivals is just not coming this year now, again, just it's managing expectations is all it is. Because right now there's a load of stuff that was said at the start of season 2 towards the back end of season 1, and we're just in like a limbo state. And it's not, I'm not just referring to me and you and the people that are watching this now, but it's just the general sort of discourse across Discord and also on Twitter, and just whenever you hear people talking about the product right now. And it's tough because I still really love this product. Like I love the fantasy aspect. And again, if you're watching this right now or you're watching this on playback, you're in the exact same boat as me and Mike right here. But the idea around setting your lineups, finding those plays each week to try and beat someone else, the game itself is so good. So it's just trying to understand what we're doing. Like why is Club Shop not here yet, but it is on the football, and like we're so it's just there's a load of random questions that are still lingering about, is it?
Yeah, the Club Shop thing is surprising because that was included in the initial, like the initial conversations at the beginning of the season was like Club Shop's right around the corner, Rivals. Yeah, and it's not even, it's funny, like I don't know if Club Shop being here automatically like fixes some of the stuff that has been annoying or frustrating, and I don't know if Rivals does that either, but it is something where it's just like, hey, we're continuing to do stuff, like we're continuing to innovate, we're continuing to put things out here. And yeah, it has kind of been at a little bit of a standstill, or as Jamie says, a regression maybe.
So I've just remembered as well, in terms of the prizes that were given in these modes here. So for veterans and for under 23s, we had an exclusive signed merch pack from Paolo Banchero. Is this for under 23? Yeah. We had an exclusive signed merch pack from Paolo Banchero and NBA store gift cards. And then it was like you got for the veteran side, for the veteran, it was just NBA store gift cards. So if we're talking about this as well, one of their big things this year was mint cards being reduced. And that's fine, because that was something that people asked for. We wanted a reduction.
Absolutely.
We wanted it alongside football. It's a good thing in the long term. Obviously, that's then come with its limitations that are well documented on the rare side in terms of rare rewards. But if it is a case that we haven't seen these special competitions because there simply isn't enough cards to mint for them, there are other alternate prizing that you can give. And if the prizes are good, people will buy cards for them. It's shown in the IST. The spikes that you saw on the IST for pricing shows that if you have good rewards, if you have a great carrot, people will go and try and chase it. So again, it's just another thing of that when we see, and to be honest, again, I think we've seen a bit of stabilization in the market in any case. And I do think the market will pick back up when we have the announcement of All-Star, because there'll be obviously players that are going to be in there are going to spike in any case. And then the playoffs, you will see a big, I do think there'll be some, not seismic, but there'll be a jump in
some movement.
Auctions. There'll be some movement. But if we saw just, I don't know, like even if it is just league passes on the limited side, people will go and try and play them. I'm not going to see it and not play them for it. Unless we're talking in the rare streets where it's like a $10 NBA gift card, then no, I'm not going to go and buy a $50 card for it. But it's like,
no, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I think that goes back to your Club Shop point, where if Club Shop was a thing and you're just like, even if you're just competing for points, because I think for the most part, like with those types of contests, what I love about them is I'm usually not prioritizing. I usually look at all of my cards. I look at all of the contests, and I'm like, okay, these are the ones where I can probably make the most competitive lineup in. So that's first priority, second priority. And then after that, it's like, okay, what fun can we have? Like where can, like instead of just being like, okay, let's make sure I get that 0.05 percentage boost when I generate this training lineup. Like it's fun because I still fill out my common lineup every week. I just like want to fill out lineups. Like I like the strategy around it. And it does feel silly. Like when you look at people who have galleries of like, 600 limited cards, and it's like, hell yeah, dude, I get to use 12 of those this week. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, and I know and I know rewards are a thing and you can only do so much, but it does feels a little silly that we're not seeing more opportunities.
So and I'm aware we've been going there for 36 minutes. This isn't like a big hour long show that we do every week, but we'll wrap it up in a minute. But in terms of opportunities to win, I really feel like the common game this year is non-existent. And it wasn't a big thing for me last year. Like it was something as well, just to have a little bit of fun with. Like maybe I put I put together the lineup that wins. I think I've won 2 limited cards this year that I've given away. But this year, more than any with commons, is I literally will go in, I will pick whatever lineup I see fit off of the 4 guys, and then that's it. And you only have 1 common lineup. Last year you had like 3, and then there was a special competition. And the reason I say this is because even like for this sort of thing, when you had the IST, top prize won $30, and then it paid $8 down to 100th, right? How hard would this be to do, just as a general thing, maybe once every like 4 game weeks, so two normal weeks, to have some form of, and it not be using your common cards, but it's a draft system, so you get a cap of 200 or a cap of 80, or make it however you want, but you go in and you draft them, and the top 100 managers in the game, they pay out $8, and it goes on and so on and so forth. Things like this not only encourage like new people to get on the game, but if they're users that are only playing common and they win $15, I'm pretty confident people aren't taking out and withdrawing $8, $15. They're going to be like, okay, what $15 card can I buy in the limited? And then it spikes from there. And it's just small little rolls that come from it.
And we talk about that a lot, right? There are not a lot of things on the NBA side of the platform right now that encourage progression. The limited tip-off, I think it's called, or the common tip-off, whatever the tip-off competition is, that's definitely geared towards it. That's like one of the good things. But I totally agree. I mean, I think that would be, and again, I don't know what budgets look like, and I don't know how reasonable it is, but I absolutely think that would be, that would encourage people to at least like, shop around a little bit, like, oh, okay, am I going to turn this cash into ETH and then like take a 5% hit on gas or whatever, right? And like by the time it's like $8, or am I just going to go buy like a Kyle Kuzma? And now, okay, if I, and then after like 10 of these, maybe I can field the contender lineup or something,
Yeah, and I don't want to kind of arc onto it in terms of everything that we've spoken about before, but with the progression talk in mind. So this is the football end. I'm not a huge football like player on this side, but I do play it, and I have a limited gallery and some rares, and then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, MLS is back soon. We've got regular European football, and then we also have the Euros, like of the international tournament in the summer. And I'm like, where do I want to move in terms of my gallery on this side of things? And I can either stay in rare and just play this only, or the alternate side of things, if I wanted to maybe think about jumping up a scarcity, is you have All-Star Rare or Rare Plus. You have Champion America Rare or Rare Plus. And the basic understanding of it is that you play minimum 3 rares and a maximum of 2 super rares. Yeah, so it encourages, so like it's the idea of that for right now, someone like, and this is very personal in terms of just looking at it on my own gallery, and I'm sure that there's others out there that only play limited and rare. To jump into super rare is such a big barrier to competitively play into it. So if there was, even if you had to blend it on the approach of that, you had a competition like this where you played 3 rare cards and a maximum of 2 super rare cards. But if it was like a month-long competition and only and then you had people winning depending on where they are there, and then also you had the coins, like you can add that into it. Like there just needs to be some form of incentive, I feel.
And I'll tell you this: the only reason I got involved into rare as quickly as I did was because when SORARE NBA launched, and they didn't have like enough people didn't have enough cards to just kind of like fill out a rare contender, and they had that. I think it was, I forget what the contest was called, but it was basically like 3 limiteds, 2 rares, I think is basically what the lineup construction was. And it was great because that's like, okay, I picked up a rare here. I bought a rare to do this lineup. And then all of a sudden, when they took that away, I had enough rares that I was like, okay, I'm going to dabble in rare contender. But I think if that was still if something like that still existed, I promise you, people who were like on the fringe a little bit would scoop one and move over.
100%. I totally agree. And I'm surprised that we've not even had it tested is also the thing. Like, I feel like we normally would get something, even if it's, again, if it's a month-long competition, so it isn't there just for a week, because no one's going to buy a super rare card just to play in one literal game week, right? If it's there for a month, because if I go out and buy a super rare card or 2 super rare cards to play in this thing, and I know that it's going to be there for a month, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and scout someone that I know will potentially pop off for me in 4 out of these 8 weeks, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
But there just isn't, and that's coupled with the lower side on the commons, and like Matthew's saying here, even if I'm opening a tier 3 for the 15,000th time, I still get that dopamine hit of opening something.
Yep.
And I feel like that's been a little bit neglected this year, and that's something that comes with coins. Every time if you don't win anything, you'd still get a notification pop up on your phone or wherever that you've won coins, and then you can stack them and you can build towards something.
Yeah, I know. Totally agree. Totally agree.
It's where we are with it. And I think, again, all of this and the whole point of this thing was to what do we actually want from SORARE NBA at the moment? And they've done a lot of things well, and they've done a lot of things in a manner of which are either confusing, or we just don't understand, or we don't know. And that's the kind of, that's where I think I want to end on it there. But is there anything else that you want to pick up?
No, I just want to say we're 42, 43 minutes in, and the sun still has yet to come down far enough. So we're good, baby. We made it through the whole show.
We've done pretty. I mean, what did you expect, and what was you actually wanting from your blinds and curtains? That's probably what we should have asked as well towards the start of the show.
Yeah, I do need to. I think I personally need higher expectations of both the curtains and myself to fix it.
I think though that will do us here. Smoke some. I don't know what that means. Smoke some what?
Oh, smoke like that's Matic Auto, baby. He's high as hell.
Oh, right. Okay. Nice. I think that's where we'll end it then for sure. Do you want to people that are going to be watching this back? Do you want to tell them what you got going on, Mike?
Yeah, just come over to Team Hold So Rare. That's the only channel I'll plug right now. There's more, but go find that one at Team Hold So Rare. We do a value hunting a couple times a week for each game week, and then we do live before lock. Tonight, the Shot Tank show is returning tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be a fun one with Mr. Jeb. TST returns, and even John Boy Beats is coming out of retirement. So Shot Tank is back tonight at 9.
Is that it's the 75 grand? Is he enjoyed
75 grand? Yeah, we're gonna see we're gonna see if he can just like give us some money. I think that's gonna be the point of the show.
He's coming back from that one. I'm only going to refer to him as 75 grand, man. That's just how
you should. I like that. I think we all should now, Mr. 75.
I think he'd like that. I think he'd like that as well. I do love the it's the only show. It's the only channel I'm going to plug right now. Leaving little breadcrumbs.
Yeah. I do realize it sounds obnoxious. Once I get to the 3rd channel, it's like, all right, we get it, dude.
No, for sure. Right, Mike, thank you very much for coming and hanging with us here over on the podcast. If you haven't checked out our all-star selections that we've done, there's either going to be a link to that in the description, or it's just the most recent video that's on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like on the video, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.